The 1980s painted a grim picture for agriculture. With some of the highest interest rates on record and overwhelming debt, thousands of families lost their farms. Banks were backing out of loans. The financial stress became more severe with declines in farm commodity prices, income, and land values. Farming was in crisis. Farmers who survived the 1980s were entitled to huge bragging rights. When times get tough, some run and hide. Others face the battle. A strong group of South Dakota farmers sought to change their own destiny during these times. South Dakota was known as the warehouse of the world, and they saw an opportunity to build new markets in the state. They also realized the importance of having advocates for their own industry. Over a pot of coffee, this group of men concluded they would create a unified voice for corn growers in Pierre and in Washington, D.C. From that beginning, the South Dakota Corn Growers was born, and the first 25 years have seen remarkable changes and extraordinary opportunities. But it didn't stop there. The founders of SDCGA also founded the Corn Utilization Council and set up a checkoff program to help tackle research, market development, and educational efforts to advance the corn industry. And the first 25 years have set the stage for even greater things to come for South Dakota farm families. In 1986, South Dakota's Corn Belt looked vastly different than it does today. For instance, the average yield was 82 bushels per acre, compared to 2009's record yields of 151 bushels per acre. And yet yields are projected to climb even higher in the future.
The movement of the Corn Belt west and north is unprecedented. It was agriculture in South Dakota 25 years ago looked very much like it had 25 years before that. But in the last 25 years, it's an explosion of new genetic technology to adapt corn to new environments for shorter growing seasons, cold, drought, and not only adapt, but thrive.
The SDCUC has led the way in funding research, while the SDCGA has maintained a strong voice for farmers in Pierre and Washington. This dynamic duo has encouraged new technology and developed new markets, especially in ethanol production, South Dakota's most dynamic industry. It all began with a modest goal of processing 20 million bushels of corn in the state. By the year 2001, that goal was met and surpassed with the introduction of the first farmer-owned ethanol plant in South Dakota, Dakota Ethanol, located in Wentworth. South Dakota is now known as the ethanol Mecca, producing over 1 billion gallons in 2010.
South Dakota farmers got to sit in the ringside seat to see a birth of an industry, and that was the ethanol industry, and that was through the efforts of the corn growers.
To feed that growing industry, farmers relied on new technology and research to increase yields.
And South Dakota truly adapts to biotechnology and new traits twice as fast as any other state in the United States. So as you look at that, the inputs obviously have increased value, in that every year our corn and soybean productions goes up, about 2% on average.
Industry research has led to breakthroughs that have produced dramatic increases, and farmers have enjoyed the benefits.
The yield curve has drastically increased, and we're increasing our yields exponentially, and it's just been a tremendous benefit. The sky's the limit.
While research and market development have played an important part, one of the most important roles of South Dakota corn is their strong legislative influence. 25 years ago, corn farmers did not have a unified, informed, and passionate voice in Pierre or Washington, D.C. Since then, the corn growers have become that voice, becoming more respected and trusted over the years.
It's a strong organization, a strong voice. It just really takes a leadership role on agricultural issues. And I think it's now more than ever, it's imperative that corn has a strong voice. They are well educated on the issues, not only issues that affect corn, but the entire industry. And that ranges from property taxes to eminent domain and everything in between.
The SDCGA has taken great pride in its legislative accomplishments in Pierre. Bringing a voice for agriculture to Pierre and Washington, D.C. has helped pass legislation to advance the industry and overturn bills that could have devastated it. The corn growers' influence has successfully impacted legislation like the Farm Bill, the Renewable Fuel Standard, state producer incentive, and monies for blender pump infrastructure, all major wins for the industry. Despite their dedication to political issues, South Dakota Corn Board members have also taken great pride in working with organizations contributing time, energy, and resources. They have seen 2 of their board members elected to the presidency of the National Corn Growers Association, Lynn Jensen in 1999 and Darren Enan 10 years later in 2009. Whether national or local, political or educational, South Dakota Corn operates under the philosophy of see a need, fill a need. They have been instrumental in founding several state and national organizations, including the American Coalition for Ethanol, South Dakota Livestock Foundation, South Dakota Wind Energy Association, Ag United for South Dakota, and the South Dakota Biotech Association. The South Dakota Corn Growers has also used their voice to educate consumers in South Dakota about their industry, and have increased these efforts over the past few years, including a public relations effort that illuminated the kernels of truth food versus fuel debate. They teamed up with Kelloland Television to adopt an acre of corn for the growing season, giving the audience lessons in how corn is produced, cared for, and harvested. The True Environmentalists campaign was introduced to tell the story of how farmers take care of the land, air, and water. Farmers also know that part of their lifeblood is the next generation, an essential part of their story that is told in the current campaign. The South Dakota Corn Growers' first 25 years began with a commitment and has progressed through deep and lasting change in both the fields and farms, as well as campuses and capitals. They hope to continue their legacy by preparing to meet the future challenges, some of which include approving higher blends like E30, working with car manufacturers to produce vehicles that maximize ethanol blends, producing 300 bushel per acre corn, teaming with the industry to bring drought-tolerant and nutrient-fixing corn varieties to market, and building a container loadout facility in South Dakota. The future of agriculture is bright. With a growing world population and more people to feed, farmers have many challenges, yet many reasons to be optimistic. So what will the next 25 years hold?
Well, we've all heard the 300 bushel by the year 2030, and that's a national average. I hope that means that in Han County, South Dakota, I've got a 200 or 2 1/4 bushel average, and I'll be ecstatic with that. I'm excited about it. I really think it's quite possible.
The generic answer I would probably say is more, and that's because the world is demanding more out of South Dakota farmers. Not only from the food aspect for corn production, but it's also about the fiber and the fuel and all the other things that will be produced out of corn.
The challenge is almost mind-boggling. In 2050, the world will need to produce as much food in these next 40 years as it has produced in the last 1,500 years. The pressure to produce food will change agricultural and rural America to a degree that I don't think we can comprehend. We will produce that food with less water, with less energy, and with fewer inputs. So the challenge is dramatic, but it is also a tremendous opportunity for South Dakota corn growers.
25 years ago, agriculture was in a different place. With unprecedented progress and many successes behind us, there are still abundant opportunities ahead.
It looks like it to be the golden age of agriculture. This is your time. And do we have the infrastructure in place? Do we have the needed pieces, the technology tools? Are we ready for it? I think the greatest entrepreneur out there in the world is the American farmer, and he is getting ready for this opportunity.